On today's show, we review the top sports stories of 2015. Studio Forsyth starts now. Studio Forsyth is brought to you in part by Cumming Forsyth Chamber of Commerce, creating a climate for growth and success in our community. Pinecrest Academy, a national 2014 Blue Ribbon School and 2014 Catholic Education Honor Roll School of Excellence. Forsyth County Schools, quality learning and superior performance for all. And Northside Hospital Forsyth, committed to the health and wellness of our community.
I'm Jose Lopez Seno. I'm an OB/GYN at the Center for Perinatal Medicine at Northside Hospital. When we received the news of my wife's pregnancy, we were very thrilled. Once we knew that we were carrying triplets, I had no doubt that the Center for Perinatal Medicine was the right place for our high-risk pregnancy. Our triplets are now 10 years old, healthy, happy, and active. We are Northside Hospital.
Welcome inside Studio Forsyth. I'm Kayla Robbins. 2015 was a big year for Forsyth sports, so our sports gurus Brian Paglia and Michael Foster break down the 10 stories you read most. Let's check it out.
We've been rolling through a series of stories this last week or so, looking at the most read Forsyth County sports stories of 2015, according to views on our website, forsythnews.com. But today, we want to talk about our own list of the biggest Forsyth County sports moments of 2015. These are our choices, debated and scrutinized by sports writer Michael Foster and myself. So here we go. Let's roll through them in reverse order, starting with number 10, and the Lambert girls swimming team winning its third straight state title.
Yeah, obviously that's a really big deal, and it kind of adds up to some of the other stuff we're going to hit in the list of Lambert just dominating in a lot of sports. But big thing is a lot of the Olympic sports and the second tier sports, Lambert's been really good at it too, and 3 straight titles is a pretty big deal.
It was pretty emotional too. Coach Carrie Langley had been diagnosed with cancer before the season, so I know the team, that victory was extra meaningful for the Lady Longhorns. All right, at number 9, we've got Lambert's boy and girl golf teams sweeping the Class 6A state championships this past spring.
3rd straight for the girls team, and then for the guys it was actually a really big deal because they had regressed from 6th place to 11th place in a 2-year span. So they're going back into state just wanting to kind of, refine their footing in that top 10, and they ended up winning the whole thing. Really good round from Jake Fenton, who shot a 68. Then Lauren Lightfritz led the girls. So that was a big day for Lambert golf.
Yep. At number 8, Lambert baseball player Seth Beer decides to leave early for Clemson University.
Yeah, this is actually it's interesting because Beer is almost like kind of his own brand. He's a very good baseball player, and his future was kind of up in the air, trying to figure out what he was going to do. So we knew that he was committed to Clemson, but we're going to be, I guess, a little bit surprised if he actually went. So this is it's going to be an interesting step for him. He's not going to go straight into the Major League spotlight or anything like that.
Indeed. At number 7, that wacky final regular season day of Region 6 6A baseball games. That was a crazy one.
It was actually more of a 36, 48-hour span of crazy baseball. Lambert, because of weather, ended up with a doubleheader against South Forsyth and West Forsyth. South was hanging on by the skin of their teeth to try to get the 4th and final playoff spot, and how they got it was they actually upset Lambert in that doubleheader on that Thursday, and then turned around to that Friday after West beaten Lambert. West also had an opportunity to tie Lambert to become co-region champs. So there was a lot of chaos, and then even though Johns Creek won on the final day, they ended up 10-8. South ended up 10-8, but South actually won the tiebreaker and ended up becoming the 4th team. So all 4 baseball teams made it to the baseball state playoffs.
I just remember that day being the day where ADs of all the schools involved were up until 3, 4 in the morning trying to figure out those tiebreakers, and it was crazy.
You'd think head-to-head they wouldn't be that complicated.
No. At number 6, Lambert wins the Class 6A Directors Cup.
That was kind of what I was alluding to with number 10 in the swimming team. I mean, I've written this in stories before, the craziest thing about Lambert is when you drive into Lambert and you see just the non-stop banners on the sides and all the way around to the stadium, you would assume that that's a school that's been around for 20 or 30 years, maybe even 50 years. There's schools that have existed for 80 years that don't have that many banners.
Right.
So for Lambert to have as many state titles that they do and the time that they've been here and the way they've been racking them out the last few seasons alone is really, really impressive.
That was a thing that had been dominated usually by Gwinnett or Cobb County schools, the Waltons, the Brookwoods, so that was kind of cool to put Forsyth County on the map like that. Speaking of putting Forsyth County on the map, at number 5, South Sarah Myers and West Jen Estady signed with Maryland women's basketball this past November.
It really was just making it official because both of them were committed so early. But this is a really big deal. I mean, there's a lot of media outlets that cover women's basketball that, now they know where Forsyth County is. So this is a really big deal. I think both of them are going to fit in really well, and that's an awesome signing class. If you haven't looked at the other players in that signing class, you need to, and then realize that these girls are just as good. Yeah. So if you haven't seen Stady or Myers play yet, go out to the gym and watch them because they're only going to be here so much longer.
Yeah, that signing class was officially number 1 ranked in the entire country, according to several media outlets. At number 4, North Forsyth pitcher Dakota Chalmers was drafted and then signed with the Oakland Athletics this past June.
This was a really fun story to cover. I know his parents made jokes about him, hoping that he might get drafted by the Braves so that he can be more local. But he's going to end up out west, and he's got a friend out there as well, where he'll be playing in Arizona.
Yeah, former Central catcher Michael Brannigan, I believe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun to watch Dakota Chalmers' career. Really tall, lanky, very prototypical pitcher, and hopefully we see his name start popping up in a few years.
Indeed, indeed. All right, at number 3, the GHSA approved a new 7th classification, I believe, this past August, that had some cool ramifications in the county.
Class 7A is really what you need to worry about. That's the new class. That's the class that encompasses the biggest schools, and it really is only the South Georgia schools and then the populated areas of Metro Atlanta. Being in this classification kind of does signify, having the foundation to build a solid program. And for Forsyth Central, I think that's a really big deal that they can fit themselves in with Lambert and now Milton in their region as well, and all the Forsyth County schools. But also it's about getting Forsyth into that region with the other Forsyth County schools. All the public Forsyth County schools will be competing against each other. And that is a unique aspect of their region that some of the other larger regions, you have the Gwinnett schools and the Cobb schools, but this really is only 5 Forsyth schools, all of them clumped into one. Yeah. So it'll be really fun to cover that region in the future.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, at number 2, South football's compelling season. We had to kind of lump it all in one there.
South season was awesome. It was adrenaline-inducing to cover. I think, starting with that region championship game over Lambert where they blew them out, and then what they were able to do in the playoffs. Not only are your first 2 playoff games impressive alone just based on Forsyth County's history, but you did it against Norcross and Tucker, who are big-time football brands that have state championships and have them in the last 5 years. Yeah. And then you end up being the only team in the GHSA state playoffs that led Colquitt County in the 4th quarter. You almost had a chance to take a 10-point lead and beat Colquitt County. Yeah. Turns out Colquitt County ends up as the number 1 team ranked in the entire country by the USA Today. So to be able to say that you led the number 1 team in the entire country in the 4th quarter, it's not a huge win, but those guys don't talk about that every once in a while. They had a really magical year.
Yeah. All right, well, and at number 1, West Forsyth cross-country runner John Green's disqualification at the state meet. This story just blew up.
Yeah, and it was kind of I guess I was kind of surprised with how much it did. Yeah. But I think a lot of it had to do with the content of obviously what was written on his headband, but it really was just a confusing situation overall, and it was heartbreaking to see, when you see a runner bust his tail like that, and then, he's laying on the ground offering high fives 1 second, and next thing you know, he stands up and someone comes over and walks over and tells him that he ran for nothing. Yeah. But the good thing about this story is John Green's attitude, and what he said was, he's going to remember that run for the rest of his life, and so will the other guys he ran with. Yeah. So is it a technicality? Yeah, but on the whole, he still had an amazing run, and hopefully he takes pride in that.
Yeah. All right, well, feel free to tell us what your favorite local sports moment of 2015 was. You can reach out to us on Twitter @Forsyth Sports or email us at sports@forsythnews.com.
I consider the Chamber is the voice of business.
It's really designed to keep its hand on the pulse of the county.
And I think it helps the community grow.
They always been there for me every time I needed the help.
The Chamber is making sure that they're able to communicate.
When I call, I get a response.
But the biggest thing for me is
the Chamber really focuses on helping small businesses.
Thank you for watching today's episode of Studio Forsyth. From everyone here at Forsyth County News, I'm Kayla Robbins. Have a great night, and we'll see you back on Wednesday.